When you think of independence for modern women, what comes to mind? A thriving career, financial freedom, the ability to live life on their own terms, and to embracing one's sexuality without judgment. Fleabag, created by and starring Phoebe Waller-Bridge, takes these expectations and flips them on their head. Right from the opening scene, we see Fleabag engaging in casual sex with a male friend. But here's the twist: she doesn't actually enjoy it. Through her iconic monologues, we learn that she uses sex as a way to feel validated, not fulfilled. And this isn't a one off. Over and over again, she dives into relationships or hookups not out of empowerment but to distract herself from deeper issues. The very idea of sex as a symbol of freedom or confidence completely dismantled. Next, let's talk about financial independence, another supposed hallmark of modern day success. Fleabag's cafe is a disaster. Customers barely show up, and the ones who do, she resents them for using up her restaurant's resources. She relies on financial bailouts from her father and sister just to stay afloat. Even her attempt to secure a bank loan initially fails. So much for the shiny Instagram worthy version of independence we are used to seeing. Then there is friendship. If there's one bond modern narratives often celebrate, it's female solidarity. But in Fleabag, even this ideal crumbles. In flashbacks, we learn about Boo, Fleabag's best friend, who dies in a tragic accident after discovering Fleabag slept with her boyfriend. This betrayal shatters their friendship and leaves Fleabag consumed with guilt, a constant painful reminder of her flawed humanity. Marriage does not escape criticism either. Fleabag's sister seems to have it all: a successful career and a solid marriage. But look closer, her husband is sleazy, attempting to kiss Fleabag, and her stepson is deeply inappropriate. Claire's polished exterior is nothing more than a facade, masking the cracks in her supposedly perfect life. One of the show's most memorable scenes, the family dinner, brilliantly exposes the culture of pretense. Fleabag's father tries to mask his emotional absence with performative gestures like sending his daughters to feminist lectures. Her stepmother parades around as an artist, but her work is shallow and self absorbed. Everyone is pretending to have it together, but the truth is, they are all falling apart. Then we meet the priest, finally someone who sees through the nonsense. But even he is not without his contradictions. Does he truly believe in God, or is he just as lost as rest of them? Fleabag's love for him becomes her final hope, a desperate attempt to cling to something real. But here's the catch: he uses her love to guide her towards something bigger: God. And when he leaves, taking even the possibility of love with him, Fleabag is left with nothing. So, what does she do now? Does she follow the eat, pray, love route, seeking solace in Eastern spirituality? Does she return to her roots, becoming a proper white Christian? Or does she take the typical approach shown in many European art films where every contradiction resolves into something sublime, a poetic acceptance of life's chaos, finding meaning in the everyday mundanities? Even this kind of ending often leaves the bigger question unanswered. Because here's the uncomfortable truth: Fleabag is not just a story of a woman's struggle, it is a story of a woman living within a culture that has shaped these struggles, a culture that has historically prioritized its own ideals while exploiting others. Fleabag is part of a country that had colonized half the world, extracting resources and wealth from the global south, leaving countries impoverished and destabilized. The very land she stands on is built on this legacy of exploitation, and yet these systemic inequalities remain invisible in her world. Even today, the UK continues to support neo-colonial projects, particularly in the Middle East, such as its alignment with the imperial powers in the ongoing conflict in Palestine. Fleabag's world ignores these realities, focusing instead on her personal sorrows. But how can you separate individual struggles from the broader system that shaped them? The show even subtly reinforces these power dynamics. Take, for example, the scene where Fleabag glares at a black man charging his device in her cafe. The framing paints him as a freeloader, a nuisance to her business. It's a moment that reflects the unspoken biases of privilege. the discomfort with people who do not fit into her sanitized middle class world. Ultimately, Fleabag critiques the ideals of independence, love, and modern womanhood, but it stops short of interrogating the culture that created these ideals in the first place. It's the same culture that marginalizes immigrants and perpetuates global inequalities. So, while Fleabag succeeds in showing the cracks in one woman's life, it fails to look beyond her immediate world. Without addressing these broader injustices, it risks being just another story of a privileged white woman lamenting the loss of a privilege she feels entitled to. Unless Fleabag and by extension the narratives we tell about people like her starts to reckon with these systemic issues, her story will remain incomplete. Yes, it's raw, brilliant, and beautifully written, but it is also deeply limited in scope, focusing on personal despair while ignoring the systems that sustain it. And that raises the question, is Fleabag really the story of a woman fighting against the odds, or is it just the story of someone who never had to think about the odds stacked in her favor to begin with? Thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye.